Okay, what we have here are oyster mushrooms that I just purchased from the grocery store. This is the package they came in, and they had plastic wrap on top. This is about half of what they were. The other half I shredded and with my fingers just pulled them apart and just set them in this bowl, you know, just to keep them separated. When you shop for a mushroom that you want to do this with, you need to make sure that it's already growing mycelium somewhere. I know it's really hard to see on this camera, but it is growing mycelium all over it. It's covered in mycelium, and that's what you're wanting to increase the growth of when you put it into your substrate. And my substrate is cottonseed hulls, and I've heard that they're really good to grow mushrooms in, and they're fairly inexpensive, and they don't really stink. They're pretty easy to work with. But anyway, all I did with this was I put about 5 or 6 cups of it in a pan on my stove, or I'm sorry, a pot on my stove, and I boiled it for about 5 minutes and just kind of shocked it to get any bad bacteria out of it. I'm not a professional, I'm just experimenting, so this may not work at all. Maybe I did it wrong. I don't know. We'll find out in a couple months. I've just been using jars from products that I purchased at the store. So this had pickles in it, and I just peeled the label off. I boiled this in hot water so that it was, you know, anything that was left in there was out. And I kept the lid because, I mean, why would I use the same lid? So anyway, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these cottonseed hulls that have been cooled. They're wet, but they're not soaking wet. They're holding water, kind of like a sponge. But you can't wring them out. They're not that wet. So I just put a layer in the bottom. There's my sanitized fork. I'm just trying to get the extra air pockets out. I don't want to take all the air out because they need air to grow. I just want it to be so it's not so fluffy. It needs to be kind of packed in. And then I just take some shreds of the mushrooms and put them in there. There's my next layer. And then some more cottonseed hulls on top. And just kind of push those into it a little bit. I'm not really using a lot of force, I'm just kind of poking it down. And do the same thing again, just keep putting layers until your jar is like a quarter of the way full. Or, I'm sorry, a quarter of the way from the top. And you never ever want to put anything hot in with your mycelium because it will kill it. It can't be hot. Slightly warm is okay. Room temperature is okay. But never hot, because I've already learned that from trial and error that it will kill the mycelium. So I have enough room to do one more thin layer. I got enough shreds to do another jar, but I'm out of jars now. So that's as full, right about here is as full as I'll get it. Just so that the top where the lid sits, there's maybe this much space between the cottonseed hulls and the lid. And then I'm just going to take a coffee filter and set it on top like this, and then put my lid on top. It's kind of hard to tighten with one hand, but I would tighten it all the way. And then my coffee filter kind of acts as an air filter, but you can see the chunks of mushrooms in there. If this takes off, what I'll see is just everywhere there's a piece of mushroom that have mycelium already growing, it'll just kind of spider out all around, and it'll take over that section of the jar. Hopefully it'll take over the whole thing. And then I have these are my first experiments. They've been in these jars for a couple months, and I think this one's dead. I don't think the mycelium is strong enough to grow anymore. But then this one is actually doing fairly well. Like I said, it's really hard to see in the film, but all around where the cardboard is and just slightly into the cottonseed hulls is white. I mean, it's crumbly, cottony white. It is taking over everything. So that's really good. Maybe we'll actually get some mushrooms from this jar. But anyway, this is a really easy, fun project to do at home, and it's inexpensive. I used jars I already had. I used cottonseed hulls, but you don't have to use cottonseed hulls. You can use recycled coffee grounds. You can use cardboard. There's a million things that oyster mushrooms will actually grow on, so that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to use the substrate I did. And these oyster mushrooms only cost maybe $3. So really, all I put into this was about $5, and it's something that's just fun to make the time go by, especially in the wintertime when you're bored out of your mind and, you know, it's really cold outside. You don't want to go out there. So this is just something that to keep your interest up indoors. But anyway, hope you all have a great day. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.